Hey, what's up everybody? This is the brand new 2022 Lenovo Legion 5i Pro. It has Intel's new 12th generation Alder Lake processors, the 12700H, and it also has an RTX 3060 in it. Now, I own last year's Legion 5 Pro, which is an AMD-based model with an RTX 3070, and I love that laptop. It doesn't get a lot of battery, maybe 2 to 3 hours, so I can't primary it for work and travel and all that stuff, but I love playing games on it. Just like last year's model, this one has a beautiful 165 Hz Quad HD display, 2560 by 1600, with HDR support. This year it goes up to 500 nits. I don't have a way of testing nits, but I can tell you that it's very bright, and I love that. This is a nice looking display. They've made a couple of changes from last year, things that are super subtle and you probably won't find it in like the marketing collateral, and I'll call those out to you here shortly. And I'll also do a side-by-side comparison of last year's AMD model so you can see some of those subtle changes to the overall design. So first things first, since I had the laptop open, is to tell you about the keyboard. Now this year the keyboard keys are the same color as the chassis, whereas last year the keys were black. So let me just go ahead and put that side-by-side for you so you can get an idea. Come on, turn on, computer. There we go. All right. Here you are. Last year's AMD-based Legion 5 Pro. So the keys were black. This year they're the same color. And otherwise they feel the same. Trackpads are the same. And the only real difference I'm seeing when the laptops are open is super, super subtle. So first of all, there's a microphone array at the bottom. There was also a microphone array at the bottom of this one. But in this case, they're wide open circles. Let me zoom in on that for you. So you can see here how it's a wide open circle, and on the right, it looks like just a little notch. It's like barely even going to pick up on the camera here. Okay, also, Lenovo have shortened the entire display, and you can see it's very subtle, but the chin itself is just a hair smaller, making the Legion logo also smaller this year than it was last year. Now that's a theme, actually, with this year's laptop, is sort of removing or altering the overall design to be less gamery. I think Lenovo listened to a lot of the YouTubers out there. I'm a YouTuber, I suppose, but I don't make money doing this. I just do it because I love talking about tech. The thing is, I loved all the gamer accents on last year's model. I'll show you those differences here in a moment. The last thing that really stands out to me when the laptops are open is the height. So the height of the new one is just a hair lower. I mean, it's really hard to point out. So here's a box. All right, I'll get these to be the same angle. You can kind of see it. Yeah, this is shorter. So good for them, I guess. All right, now both have the same type of functionality. So using the Lenovo Hotkeys application, you can hold down Function and R, and that will change the overall refresh rate of the display. In this year's model, it has VRR, or variable refresh rate. I don't know if Windows 11 actually supports VRR, but for that reason, holding down Function and pressing R, it's not doing anything. Even when I re-downloaded the the Lenovo Hotkeys application, what actually makes that Function R work, it's still not working. So you can of course go into the settings if you wanted to, and you can change the refresh rate there. But doing it on the fly, like I just did with the AMD-based model from last year, it's not going to happen. So you just go right here, drop it from 165 to 60, and you're going to get the same type of experience as if I had done Function R, except it's going to take you a bunch of clicks and a whole bunch of time. Oh, okay, one more thing. The backlighting is stronger this year than last year, and that's hard to demonstrate, particularly since I have like the worst lighting in the world. But both of these are on max brightness, which is a level of 2, and you can see that the keys on the left stand out more than the keys on the right. Okay, now let's dive into some of those other physical differences. The biggest one, the one that's getting the most attention, I think, is that Lenovo have removed this beautiful Legion Y logo and instead replaced it with the overall like standard Legion branding. This logo, I think, is really classy. I know, okay, some people are probably like, what the hell, you're a wacko. I'm telling you guys, like, I love this. This is a gaming laptop that, you know, you're gonna work on it too, but you can barely travel with this thing. It weighs 5.5 pounds, and once you include the power brick, right, you're like 7 pounds. Plus, it's enormous, right? It's 16 inches and it's thick. Like, there's nothing about this that really that screams subtle in terms of how you'd even use it. Like, it's a workhorse. It's an awesome laptop, right? I love it. I own it. It's amazing. And I play video games on an airplane, not with my PC generally, although I will once I finally get a Steam Deck. But I'll have my Switch, I'll have my DS, I'll have all that stuff with me, even my Vita. Yep, that's right, Vita rocks. And I'll play those things on an airplane or at a cafe if I have time to kill. Like, I'm not going to hide the fact that I like video games. And I appreciate that a lot about last year's model. Big old fat Y logo that you can change the color or turn the color off. Dude, loved it, right? Freaking loved it. But this year, it doesn't look bad at all, but Lenovo have gone with just the standard Legion logo. Like I said, it looks really good. It's also classy, but I don't know about you, but if I see a laptop, like if I'm not familiar with gaming laptops and then I see a laptop that looks like this with like this aggressive design and exhausts everywhere and it says Legion on it, I still think it's a gaming laptop. I don't know, but I would prefer they had kept the Y logo, but they didn't, and we got to move on. So that's that. Okay. But that isn't the only place where Lenovo have sort of scrapped or scrubbed some of that Legion, aesthetic from the laptop. Try to do this without breaking these. So on the top is the new model, and on the bottom is last year's model. I love this little logo. And it's no longer there on the hinge. It's gone. I love that, how cool that is. But hey, it is what it is. So I don't think anyone's going to make a decision based on purely this little tiny logo or even the top, but you might based on the I/O and the performance, which we'll get to in another video. Okay, so, well, we'll get to the I/O right now, but the performance is going to have to wait for another video. I'm still collecting data. Okay, so on the Intel version, we have support for Thunderbolt. So you have Thunderbolt here and a regular USB-C. Now, the layout is a little bit different too. So it's not just the Thunderbolt, no Thunderbolt conversation, but also just the overall layout. So the last year's model has USB-C and a headphone jack. Your headphone jack on the new model is actually on the other side. I'm getting a serious workout here. Okay, boom. So this year's model, you have the ability to disable the camera using a toggle at the top, right? Same thing as last year's model, headphone jack and USB-A. All right, so similar but different enough that I need to call it out. And if it hasn't, I know it's hard to get this in focus here, but this year's model is a little bit thinner towards the back. All right, the front, the thickness is the same. The back, it's a little bit thinner in the new model. All right, now that brings us to the back, and then I'll show you the front lip in a moment. So now here on the back, one of the highlights, one of the hallmarks of the Legion laptops, sorry about the focus here, is that they have the majority of the I/O is on the back. There we go. So Ethernet and power on the back, proprietary power port, both ship with 300 watt power supplies, even though they have different GPUs. And then you have USB-A, but this little cluster is where things change. So along the top here, we have HDMI and another USB-A. Last year's model had 2 more USB-As and HDMI. So you do lose one port with the new one, but they, it's the way it is. I can't defend it. I can't talk about it. It just is what it is, man. They got little port differences. Okay, now the front. All right, so Legion laptops, they're generally very good. The Legion 5 Pro from last year, particularly this 5 Pro with the AMD and RTX 3070, was very popular. They're powerful, they're good workhorse computers, they're very well built. It's a nice chassis, but they're not actually Lenovo's highest end laptop, even though they have the Pro moniker. The 7 series has just slightly better fit and finish. And in one of those key ways that there's a difference, and I really was hoping Lenovo would bring back to the 5 for this year, is the lip. So as you'll see, the lip is very bare, right? There's really nothing going on here. It's just a slab of metal, right? It's just soft slab of metal. There's a little bit of a lip so you know where to put your finger. On Lenovo's Yoga 9, IdeaPad 9, and the Legion 7, Lenovo actually etches the name of the laptop model on the front. It's just this subtle, I think very classy look that I was hoping on the 5 Pro for this year Lenovo would bring back, but they didn't, and life goes on. Okay, so one of the things we'll have to talk about when we get to it in the next video is performance. because you're going to make a decision against other laptops based on performance and overall value in most cases. Now, in other cases, you may be making a decision based on the portability of the machine or on best value out of the box. And that matters because last year's models on the 5 Pro, it shipped with single-sided RAM that wasn't as fast as the laptop actually supported. So I'll crack this one open and I'll do some memory tests. Somebody did request that I do that, and we'll figure out if we're going to have that problem with this year's model. Also, since this runs a 3060 and last year's model that I own has a 3070, I can't do an apples to apples gaming comparison unless I was really focused on CPU intensive games. So what I've done is I've created a post on the Legion subreddit and also on our locals community where you guys can post, hey, do a test on this game, test the RAM, test the SSD, test, right? You tell me what you want me to test and I'll do my best to test all of those things. Where I draw the line is if I don't own the game. So I don't make money doing this. So I'm not going to run out and buy God of War on PC, especially since I have it on PS4. Actually, if I have my Steam Deck, okay, if I get a Steam Deck soon, then I'll probably buy it on PC and then I'll do a test there. But anyhow, if it's a game I own, like Cyberpunk, Witcher, I mean, I've got several hundred games on my Steam library. So, and my Epic Games library, I have a lot too. So drop the game, I'll do my best to review it. If I have it, I'll do it. I'll record it, and then you guys can see the performance. And I'll also test battery life and just like, hey, can you even run this thing for work? You know, like, does it have better battery life this year now that we're on these 12th gen CPUs? Are we getting better battery life? I'll test all that stuff and drop another video in the next coming weeks. It's going to take some time to compile all of that, but I at least wanted to get this initial video out there for you guys. So let me know what you think. I look forward to your comments, and we'll get going. All right, cheers.